losing weight is unhealthy. I'm like, when did losing weight become unhealthy? Or when did making nutritious choices and like, you know, being proactive about that and pointing out what are less that's a healthy, like, you know what I mean? So let's not take it too far the other way where we can no longer give out helpful health advice, right?
For people who are you know, tuning in and finding out about you for the first time, like what do you focus on social media?
Right. Well, obviously I'm best known for my meal prep and nutrition content. You know that. Some of the things I like to focus on is, you know, nutrition foundationals, healthy swaps is a big piece of my content. And just like healthy recipes, meal prepping, making nutrition easy to understand. That's what I say.
Yeah.
I do overall.
You're so good at it.
So are you though.
Well, you were like massively like inspiring to me back at the beginning when I first. Do you remember that
yes,
meal that we had?
We did some shoots together too.
We did some shoots together.
Yep.
Yeah, but we had lunch or something at Erewhon in LA, and it was like we were just becoming friends, and you said something to me that really resonated. You were like, you know, to grow following, like you said that the key really ultimately is being willing to experiment.
Yes, absolutely. It's definitely a little bit of trial and error. You're going to have hits and misses. You're going to have moments where you're going to have to be like, I messed up there. And like we've discussed, you have to be not afraid to be at least a little controversial. You're a little more bold than me. I'm a little bit of a chicken, but I have to remind myself because there are certain posts that I know that I do that are a little more controversial, and I'll go to repost it and get nervous again, like, oh no. But yeah, that's all part of the game or part of, you know, the fun.
Yeah. Like you have to be afraid to you can't be afraid to lose followers or to piss people off. If that's really what's guiding you, then you're not going to do anything innovative.
Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, like, what's your goal? You're trying to help people. Maybe you're also trying to like make a statement, take a stance on certain things. So you can't let that get in the way of helping people or, you know, saying the right thing.
Yeah. What do you find that your followers are like most hungry for? No pun intended.
I definitely think the swaps, you know, here's an easy, healthy swap, or this, you know, you might not know this had a shit ton of sugar, all the like the hidden chemicals, ingredients, all that stuff. And also maybe just like pointing out different ways of looking at nutrition that you might not think about. Like the other day I posted, like, you know, there's no one right way to eat. And it was like 3 big meals versus 3 meals and a couple snacks, and it was the same calories. It's like kind of like there's no one right way, and you know, different ways have different benefits. And I know you promote certain styles that you think have a lot of benefits, but it's not like you don't follow it like the Bible. You're not like everyone has to do intermittent fasting or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, totally. I mean, I try to lead. I try to show people like ideal scenarios so that they're armed with knowledge. But you know, even by my own standards, I'm not perfect.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And I don't try to be. I don't pretend to be.
Where's the fun in that though?
Yeah. Well, because I think you've got, and you talk about this all the time, like you've got to have room for fun. You've got to have room for like the planned indulgences, you know? It's
so funny because I feel like people forget you have fun because you go a little more hard because, I mean, I think you're coming from a great place. You're coming from like, hey, my mom had this disease, like, let's take this seriously. But then you're like, but I eat some Halo Top and I have some fun here and there.
Yeah.
But people do forget that sometimes because I also, and I know you feel the same way, there's so many people out there pushing like just calories and all those unhealthy foods, like have as much as you want. So you kind of feel like you have to combat that.
Yeah.
So you get caught in the like showing all the healthy stuff, which is great. But every now and then I'm like, I do eat pizza.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, you know what? I used to take singing lessons. And when you're taking like lessons from somebody, when you're sitting with a teacher and you're taking lessons, it's their job to make sure that you are like learning the rules so that in your performance or whatever, you know, like you can then break the rules. But in order to break the rules, you have to know the rules first.
Yeah.
And so as a nutrition quote unquote teacher, like on social media, I feel like it's my duty to like teach the rules, not to enable people's bad habits that they already have, that so many of us already have, right? That doesn't mean that you have to like live by the rules all the time, But I think it's important to know the rules, and I think it's a fallacy that to assume that people already know the rules. People don't know anything about nutrition generally.
Oh, absolutely not. Yeah, like, I like to think of it as like principles, guidelines, rules, all those things. But I totally agree. It's like there's so much out there that people are still eating sugar for breakfast, like primarily sugar. And I don't know. I wish America didn't have as big a problem as it does. I mean, I guess leaves us room to help teach people, but it also makes me sad to think that how many people are obese in this country.
Yeah, so many people. You were talking about controversial posts. What would you say are like some of the more controversial things that you post about?
Well, I think you can definitely side with me on this, but meat in general just seems to be super controversial. Even if it's just like, hey, look at the protein macros, like just something about raw meat triggers a certain group of people, I feel like. So those tend to be controversial. I actually took a page out of your book. I remember you compared Beyond Burger to the beef burger and just the insane amount of ingredients in these impossible Beyond Burgers. So I kind of took a page and I was like, okay, let me just add, like, what would a vegan eat that's healthy? Like a black bean burger. So I did, the beef burger, the black bean burger, and then like the Beyond Burger. It's like a page of ingredients almost. Yeah. And just emphasizing like, hey, if you're vegan and you're doing it for ethical reasons, like, of course, like eat the Beyond, but it's not healthy. Everyone preaching like, hey, it's meatless, so it's healthy. Like when I know you feel me, like when I see the ads of like the plant-based chicken nuggets and it's like, this is so much better for you. I'm like, it literally looks like chicken nuggets. I can't believe how processed this is. This isn't a healthy choice. It's just an option, if you're doing vegan for ethical reasons. Oh, look, you can have a fun treat, but like those types of posts are controversial because I think the plant-based community gets really, they're really adamant.
Yes, it's so funny. And what I find is that people that whenever I make those comparisons, people that come over to my page and post usually with like vitriol and hate, usually those people aren't even following me. Like they've come over from like the Explore page or they're tracking hashtags or something.
Yeah.
Like I don't even know how it works, but
yeah. Definitely the Explore page. I know there's like, but then everyone starts getting in fights with each other. So I just let that play out. Yeah. I'm sure you've seen it on your posts. So yeah, those types of posts tend to be controversial. And then I do think because the anti-diet movement is so strong, sometimes people get offended by comparisons like, hey, this is a not so healthy choice. This is a healthier choice. And even that is controversial, which is a little crazy to me. I know you're not about the like food, what do you call it? Food social justice warriors. That's that's what you call it. Like they're like policing the language you're using, which I try to be a little more cognizant. You're like, I do not care, which I respect.
To go in.
Yeah,
you're
like
just twist the knife.
You're just like, but I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna take off the words unhealthy and healthy or like less nutritious, more nutritious. Like it's not all food is the same. It's not all created equal.
Yeah.
So those do tend to be controversial too.
Talk to me about like the anti-diet culture. Like what would you say is diet culture and what has been the pushback on social media to that culture?
Well, I think I would say there's been some good stuff out of the anti-diet culture, right? Getting rid of the dogma of like you have to stick to one diet for the rest of your life. A lot of these crappy products like the Fit Tea, all those BS products, pushing back on that. I think that's great, but then the anti-diet movement goes so far, I feel like, not everyone, there's different styles, but they go so far to say is losing weight is unhealthy. I'm like, when did losing weight become unhealthy? Or when did making nutritious choices and like, being proactive about that and pointing out what are less that's a healthy, like, you know what I mean? So let's not take it too far the other way where we can no longer give out helpful health advice, right?
Yeah, so important. I agree. Like, I think it's important to be able to separate making statements about empirical like facts, like, being overweight generally, and especially being obese is just generally not healthy. Yes, right. There's a minority of people who can be like overweight and metabolically healthy, but that's like the exception. That's not the rule.
Right.
So to promote the principles like that you promote, I think it's so important.
No, that's a good point. And like, it's just like, we don't have to judge each other. Like I'm not judging you because of your choices, but in terms of like what's healthy and promoting health and talking about how being super overweight can be unhealthy, you know, that's an important conversation to have. And I'm not going to go out there and like single out certain people. Like,
of course.
That's terrible. I'm not for like bullying,
shaming. No way.
Yeah. But having like being able to have that real open conversation of, you know, what the statistics say and what it says in the studies, I think is important. Yeah,
I totally agree. You do a lot of like food comparisons and talking about like food, like for like volume, you know,
yes.
like looking at calories and then talking about how some food groups are like more calorie dense than others. That's like a really important, I think, distinction to make for people.
Absolutely. It's kind of funny because I posted like a 1,600 calorie day the other day and everyone was like, that does not look like 1,600 calories. Like, it looks like a lot more. And I'm like, there's a couple different hacks to that. Well, first of all, using smaller plates, straight up, like just because, I mean, when you get a big plate and you're not like filling it full of food because you're trying to do smaller proportions, it's going to feel small, right? But then to your point about the filling foods is the low calorie vegetables and even like low sugar fruits and all that. Adding a ton of those to your day can essentially make you feel like you're eating more. Like the whole saying, eat more, weigh less, right? You're still going to end up eating less calories. But if you choose whole foods, you know, you're very like, watch out for those hyper palatable foods. Like if you choose less of those and more of the whole foods, vegetables, protein, you're going to have a lot more volume in your day. And it's, you know, it's going to feel better, easier to lose weight.
Yeah. So walk me through like what a day of eating looks like for Meow Mix.
Meow Mix?
Yeah.
Super healthy. So normally I start my day off with, I like starting my day off with like eggs. Sometimes it's like a cheesy egg scramble. You know, I have some fun, some cheese.
Yum,
I'm not afraid of dairy. And then I'll do either a matcha, like almond milk latte, or I'll do like a bulletproof coffee, maybe not like a lot of butter, like a little bit of coconut oil. Then for a snack, I'll typically have maybe some fruit post-workout with a whey protein shake. Then lunch, I like to do a really big salad, like a fat salad for lunch.
Yes.
With some like, you know, grass-fed beef or some pasture-raised chicken. Then I do love my rice cakes sometimes. I'm like still into that. So I'll do a rice cake with nut butter and like mashed up raspberry. So instead of jam, you know, which has so much sugar, you can just mash up fruit. One of my favorite hacks. I know you see me do it a lot.
Yeah.
So I'll do that. And then dinner, typically maybe like grass-fed steak with broccoli or asparagus. And then sometimes I'll do a starch like potatoes. I'm not afraid of potatoes, sweet potatoes. And then at the end of the night, maybe another chocolate protein shake or strawberries with dark chocolate. I'll also have some nuts somewhere in the day. So that's basically what I do.
Yeah.
Pretty healthy, lots of vegetables. I'll do vegetables at every meal, including breakfast. Like usually have some bell peppers or, you know, every single meal trying to have colorful vegetables.
Yeah, I like that. And you prioritize, it's like you have protein shakes too?
Yes.
That's part of your like...
I love protein shakes. I mean, it's a great way to get a chocolatey snack. You know what I mean? And then just, it's hard to get all your protein macros if you're trying to eat a higher protein diet when you're active.
Yeah.
What are some of your go-to meals? I'm actually kind of curious.
Oh man, what a good question. I'll just tell you, like today I started the day, so I broke my fast. My breakfast was, I had like a taco bowl. I made,
Ooh.
Yeah, I made, I took 100% grass-fed ground beef and I seasoned it with Siete's spicy taco mix. Have you had that?
I haven't had that. I love their chips, though. Their chips are fantastic.
Yeah, shout out to Siete Foods. No affiliation, but they make like great gluten-free, grain-free stuff. Right?
Yeah, they have great tortillas, too.
Yeah, so good. Pretty easy to find in LA, and just generally I think like Whole Foods probably around the country.
Yeah, Whole Foods. Well, Erewhon is only in LA, right?
Yeah, Erewhon's only in LA. I would imagine that Siete is now at this point a little bit more ubiquitous.
Yeah.
You know, like
they're pretty popular.
in
yeah.
other supermarkets.
If it's in Whole Foods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I seasoned it with their spicy taco seasoning, which was amazing. And then I bought some guacamole from Trader Joe's. Trader Jose's guacamole, which is really, really tasty. And then I bought also some lactose-free sour cream. So sometimes I'll use like actual sour cream.
Yeah.
And then other times I'll use like a dairy-free sour cream.
Are you more sensitive to dairy?
I'm actually not. I'm not sensitive to dairy at all. But I just generally, dairy is in one of those categories for me that like I just try to eat it in moderation.
Yeah.
Like it's not something I don't make the recommendation. Like you don't need dairy. Like
Right.
like the dietary guidelines are like you need dairy. You don't need dairy.
You do not.
Yeah, you don't need dairy. There are some like interesting micronutrients in dairy.
Especially like fermented kind, right? Like yogurt and cheese and like higher quality trying to get from grass-fed cows would be a little bit better.
Yeah, there's very little lactose in like hard cheeses and things like that. Also, like low fat or fat free Greek yogurt is something that maybe like if you would have asked me about 2 years ago, I would have said, avoid it or only eat full fat, but it's actually a great protein source.
Yeah. Especially if you're trying to lose weight, sometimes it can help you get your protein in and not have too much fat. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like, 80 calories for a cup and it's 18 grams of protein. That's amazing.
So crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. It's dope. So, and then you get like vitamin K2, you get, CLA maybe a little bit, which,
nerding out over here.
Yeah. So it's like, I just think it's like good to maybe incorporate dairy sometimes if you're not sensitive to it, but it's not something that you like need.
Right. Well, and for some people it can cause bloating, acne, all that. Like 60% of the population is lactose intolerant. But yeah, it's like nice to get those other choices that are pretty low lactose, of course.
Yeah. So you do dairy? Do you do dairy like?
I do dairy. Regularly? I mean, I'm re-addicted to cheese. It is kind of addicting. So like, I understand not doing too much in your diet because it can be hard to control the portion if you have the right cheese. Like I found this raw dairy cheese at Whole Foods and I'm like, this is too good. I can only get it like once a week because I eat too much. I'm like, I'm eating way too many of my calories in cheese because it tastes so good. But yeah, I don't notice that. I do notice if I eat way too much, I think I start to break out a little bit more. But if I have a little bit, it's not too much of a problem.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll do some of that. I also threw in my taco bowl today some salsa, some hot sauce, and that's what I had. That's a great meal for me.
Is that all you had today?
That's all I've had so far. Oh no, I've had a little bit of dark chocolate.
Nice.
I've had a little bit of dark chocolate. I'm drinking right now a decaf iced coffee.
Ooh.
With no sugar. And yeah, I try to eat like 2 meals a day. I try to like not snack that much, but due to and you probably feel the same way, like due to COVID and the quarantine and stuff, like I'm just spending more time in close proximity to my kitchen, so I've been snacking more.
Yep.
So I just try to make sure that I've got healthy snacks available to me.
Yep. Tons of fruit or like vegetables or nuts.
Yeah.
What are your go-to snacks?
Oh man, you've turned the tables on me. I'm the one being interviewed. I like it. Go-to snacks. I enjoy. So like low fat or fat free Greek yogurt I think is good.
Yep.
It's also interesting if it's fat free. It doesn't necessarily have to be grass fed.
Yeah.
Because like grass fed really dictates like the quality of the fat, and if you're going for fat free, then it's not a huge deal.
That's a good point. It's also still not super easy to find. I will say that.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's cheap. It's a great protein source. I'll do like a protein shake occasionally, dark chocolate, beef jerky. I started working with a company, Paleo Valley. They make these beef sticks.
Oh.
Have you tried Paleo Valley?
I need to try it. No, I haven't tried it.
They're so good.
I know I'm going on a road trip soon, so maybe I'll find some of that at the store.
They're so good. Paleo Valley beef sticks. They're awesome. I'll take like a dozen of them with me like on a road trip, and I'll just just plow through those. What else is there?
Well, you probably don't snack that much, so those are kind of like your go-tos.
Have you tried? Okay, so they're like water lily seeds. Have you heard of water lily seeds?
No.
There's a brand. It's called like Asha Pops.
Okay.
There's like a few brands out there. I have no like.
Are they really good?
They're super tasty, and I know that you're all about the volume. They're like a high volume snack.
Yes, I know. I want to just eat as much as possible.
Yeah. What are some other? I mean, you probably know. Like, what are some other high volume like epic snacks to keep around?
Oh, I love some of the OG ones like carrots and hummus, especially if you find a good like clean hummus, because a lot of those have those inflammatory oil. So make it yourself or try to find a better one. Protein shakes, even cucumber. Yeah. I love cucumber. It's super refreshing. Dark chocolate and berries, all that stuff. I do the rice cake. Sometimes I'll do Ezekiel toast. I like Ezekiel bread.
Yeah.
If I don't mind a little bit of gluten.
Yeah, gluten I would put in the same category of like probably better to minimize it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't have it every day.
Yeah. That's super interesting. So, and then you're also like, we were talking about meat and eggs and things like that. You're like unapologetic about like you eat meat, you eat eggs.
I mean, not as unapologetic as you, but yes, I'm all about it. I think they're a great source of nutrients. You know, obviously if you can go for grass-fed, pasture-raised, but to hit your protein macros like and not have a lot of carbs and fat definitely makes it much easier. And like I said, so many nutrients, and you can get the best of both worlds, right? You don't have to give up vegetables. Like you can eat vegetables and get the meat and eggs. You know, I know there's like the battle of like carnivore versus vegan. I'm just going to stand here in the center.
That's what I choose to do as well.
What do you think of Dr. Mark Hyman's Pegan? Like, do you appreciate that to a certain level?
Yeah, I mean, full disclosure, Mark Hyman's a friend. I love Mark. Brilliant guy. I generally agree with it. The one area where I would take, issue is that he talks about meat, on the plate as being, he says that you should have meat as if it's a condiment. He calls it condiment.
Yes, he does call it that.
Which is cute, but I disagree with that. I think that meat
you can have more than that.
You can have more than meat.
Yep.
Meat is, when we're talking about like grass-fed, properly raised meat.
Yeah.
I think it's totally healthy, and to me, I mean, it should be half the plate.
I know. I love. I mean, it's just it's filling. It helps keep your weight down. All those things, and I love the push towards regenerative farming. Obviously, I'm really excited to see that hopefully take over more of the market in the future. I know you're all about that too.
Yeah. Totally. It's important. I mean, the way that we the way that we treat, I forget who said it, but I think that the way that we treat our animals really speaks volumes about how well functioning we are just as a society.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it makes me sad that why do we have to treat them like garbage? And then it's not good for us too. Even if you're looking at it from a purely selfish standpoint, like health wise, it's not good for them to get no sunshine, to eat this crappy diet. What was that? There was like super controversial over like this feed lot, like the truck tipped over and had a bunch of candy in it to go to. Do you remember that?
Skittles, yeah.
Wild.
Insane.
But, I think there is a more ethical way to raise animals and have them like live a good life and not torture them in these small cages.
I agree 1,000%. Yeah, you can totally be an ethical meat eater.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I'm excited. I know you partnered with another regenerative farming brand before.
Bel Campo.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've seen you go to their farms. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. I got to be honest. At first, I was very reluctant to work with meat brands because what I didn't want to happen was for people to say that my perspective on meat was clouded by financial interest.
Right.
But
you've always been that way before you had those partnerships.
Exactly.
Yep, to be fair. So
yeah. And I like to help them grow, and I also have to make a living.
Yeah.
As we all do. Like I don't see patients or anything like that. Like I'm not a healthcare provider. So it just, to me, the partnership made perfect sense. Like working with these companies. Like I like to promote I like to promote better meat because it's going to increase demand for it.
Yeah.
And it's going to help increase accessibility to better meat. And it's going to show, I mean, maybe this is a more naive perspective, but I think that it's going to show the industrial food complex at large that there's a demand, that they have to start doing things differently.
No, I think as the demand goes up, then more and more products will be available, and it's great to kind of have this ecosystem that's a lot more in sync with Mother Nature, right? A lot better for the environment, all of that. So I'm excited. Hopefully more regenerative farms keep popping up.
Yeah. Are you a big seafood fan? I feel like you don't.
I do.
Post that much.
Yeah, I don't post a lot because when you meal prep, because I would show a lot of meal prep food, right? And meal prepping seafood, like you have to pretty much cook that fresh, or it lasts like about 3 days. So I usually would make it on the weekend. But I love wild caught salmon, wild shrimp, especially. You got to have the right sauce because sometimes you get it a little fishy, but like Cajun shrimp. I mean, I think it's super important, obviously, the omega-3s. Like, it's great to take an omega-3, but also eating the fish and all the seafood. So I'm a huge fan. You can't meal prep it.
You can't meal prep it. You are the meal prep queen. Why? So what, like, talk to me about meal prepping. Why is meal prepping so useful? Like, what,
Well, that started for me when I started working, now I work for myself, which is nice. But when I started working 9 to 5 days a week, I'm like, I want to eat healthy. I want to save money and I want to have full control over my food. What other way can you do that unless you meal prep? Because you can't cook at work, right? So that was meal prepping for me. And then, there's so many hacks. And if you're super busy, like even now, I think I basically meal prep my lunches for the week. So that's ready to go. It's like portioned out. Cause sometimes, when you make food on the fly and you're just like, oh, I just made some meat. I have barely any vegetables. Like this is not a quality meal. So I do like planning that ahead of time. I'm a huge fan of salad jars.
Yeah. You are the salad jar queen as well.
It's so funny because everyone gets confused because they think they're like, oh, how can you eat it out of the jar? It's like purely just for storage so your salad isn't soggy. And then you have to eat it on the plate. But every time I reshare that tip, people are like, whoa.
Well, yeah, I'll never forget when you shared with me how to do a salad jar. You keep the wet ingredients on the bottom. The wetter the ingredient, the lower in the jar it goes.
Yep. And then the lettuce at the top, super crisp. I say, no more soggy salads. No more. That's my campaign.
That's so funny. So literally every Sunday, like if you were to be like, where's Amanda? You're in your kitchen meal prepping?
Yep. Now, like I used to do dinners too and stuff when I had a busier schedule, but now, with COVID, we're at home. We don't have many plans. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to meal prep my lunches for the week, cook some breakfast fresh and cook dinner, with my husband. It's a good experience, but even just meal prepping, lunches, meal prepping snacks, whatever your busiest part of the day where you maybe find yourself, going for that unhealthy choice, try to make it so you have no excuse. You're like, I don't want to waste the food in the fridge, right?
Yeah. Do you ever feel like, do you ever feel like you miss the excitement of like not necessarily knowing what you're going to have for lunch?
No. Well, you have the weekend, like the weekend you have fun.
Yeah.
And, every now and then maybe I do something more exciting, but
yeah,
I'm a little type A.
Yeah. I like it. What has your workout regimen been like since this all began?
Listen, working out from home can be difficult some days, right? Sometimes I'm like, I'm half-assing this way too much. But just I still incorporate a lot of weight training, making sure I'm actually getting in more cardio because all the errands you used to run?
Yeah.
Like that would add, you would walking around more and all that. So I'm like, okay, I need to run. I need to make sure I'm walking around my neighborhood. But I still do a lot of weight training. You've been boxing a lot, right?
I've been boxing. Yeah, I started boxing. I got a boxing bag. I have like my own set of heavy ropes that I've been really enjoying. I've got one kettlebell, pair of kettlebells.
Rope. So it's heavier than the normal rope. Basically.
No, they're just like thick ropes. They're like, whatever they're called, battle ropes.
Oh, battle ropes. Yeah. Yes, that's hard.
So like you put them around something and you just like fling them up and down.
Yeah.
That's exhausting. But that's pretty much it. I mean, the gyms were open for like a week, not a week, like a month and a half.
I know.
Months.
I'm so bummed. I love the gym and classes so much. I literally braved, I could say brave, but I went to hot yoga. I had to wear a mask and gloves. And I was like, I don't care. I'm so happy to be here. I did hot yoga and gloves. Do you know how crazy that is?
Wait, the gloves, I mean, that's like one thing, but you did it in a mask?
Both, yes.
Damn.
Full on. But I was like, I just want to be here.
Oh my God.
I was so happy. And then when they closed it back down, I was like, darn. Yeah, I mean, LA is super, population dense, so it makes it a little more difficult. I do miss the gym.
How do you find, like, the motivation to do those home workouts? This is a question that I get asked a lot.
Well, one, I feel like having a zone set up, right, is a little bit helpful. Like, okay, I'm going to dedicate this area more so to the gym if you can do that, or, like, maybe one or two activities. So that's helpful. Maybe getting a couple pieces of equipment because, I don't know, there's something, even though you can do fake jump rope, you can do, like, there's something about having the equipment that's helpful. I will say I probably have a little less motivation than usual, but those things kind of help me. And just reminding myself, I feel so much better throughout the day. I'm like, even if it's not as good as my gym workout, just do it. Just get started. If it's not as good, that's okay. And then obviously videos can help, like YouTube or something, if you really don't have, a schedule planned. Yeah.
You and your husband, Chris, you guys are like a fit couple.
He motivates me though. He's committed to fitness. I'm just like, okay, I want to feel good. He's like, okay, I'm going to work out intensely. I want to be sweating. I can't lose my strength. I'm like, okay, I need to get on your level. So it definitely helps me to like see him do it. And sometimes I'll be like, okay, let's record a workout for my story. So, you'll push me and I'll be motivated within that. But I don't know, his level of commitment, I wish I had that someday.
But it's so funny because you guys are like, you know, like it's just interesting because fitness is obviously health and fitness and nutrition are such a big part of your lives.
Right. Because feeling good is so important. And like, I mean, being optimized for work, being able to sit here and not get tired. There's no air conditioning. I'm probably sweating a little right now.
You don't look it.
But yeah, just it's so important to me. It makes me feel good, and there's so many health benefits. And even like thinking about some of the ones you talk about for the brain, like that, you know, you just got to have a list of reasons why you're doing that. Because when, you know what, I don't care about how I look today. Well, I still want to feel good. You know what I mean? That's what really I feel like drives you, and it is nice having a partner that definitely helps you along with your journey.
It's so important. I don't have a partner, but I have a cat, and when I go outside and I do push-ups, she comes over and she like will rub her face and her tail in my face. And then sometimes she'll get underneath me, making it impossible to do push-ups. And then I'm like, oh, I guess I'm doing a plank now. Because I can't do push-ups with her underneath me, obviously.
You guys have a special bond, don't you?
We do, yeah.
I'm pretty sure I saw you biting her ear today on your
I'll bite her ear. Yeah.
I can't wait to get a cat, though. I don't know how I don't have one.
She's like my little daughter, you know.
It's really cute.
Yeah, she's like my little four-legged fur daughter. I don't feel any differently about her, you know. I mean, I don't have a daughter, but yeah, I love her just as much.
Yeah.
She just can't talk. That's it. You know, she's
right.
like a mute little fur ball.
You know what's been helping me during quarantine though is one thing you love is the sauna. So we have the portable sauna. It's hideous. It's like this orange box, but you know what I mean? We don't have room for like you have the big one, but also for anyone listening, you know, it's just a cheaper option if you can't afford the full sauna. I mean, eventually I'll get one though. It's super worth the investment, but I also, you know, I think it's similar. You get like similar benefits to working out almost from the sauna. So
yeah,
I know you're obsessed.
How often do you do your sauna?
Minimum once a week. I know I should do it more, but I do at least once a week. I'll try to do it 2 to 3 times.
And it's like literally one of those bags, right?
Yeah, it's like and your head's out. It's a box.
It's
and
so funny.
You can have your arms out if you want. So you do have to stay in it like a little bit longer. Like I think probably how long are you in your sauna? Like 20 minutes?
No, I stay in mine way longer because
really?
Because I love it. Yeah.
What temperature are you at?
I try to get it up to like 190 to almost 200. It depends though. My sauna, oh man, it's like it's a point of frustration for me because it's like it's wood and it's outside, and so there's like little micro cracks in the wood, and so on a windy day, like wind is able to get in and it doesn't let it get as hot as I want it to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So how long are you typically in your sauna?
It's by the way, it sounds so bad to be complaining like about.
Oh no, it's.
You know.
I mean, you're being real in terms of. I mean, the temperature. That's what the sauna's about, is getting it to the right temperature.
And I love it, and it's a privilege to have it. But yeah, I like it really hot. I like it to be like Russian. Like I was Finnish in a past life, I think. Like,
how many days a week are you doing? You must. Oh my god, I don't even want to do it with you because you'd be like, you're such a punk. I'd get out like so quickly.
I go in and I get it so hot that I have to wear this like wool sauna hat. Like it's a wool sauna hat that basically keeps your head from frying. It's that hot.
That's insane.
Yeah.
You're on another level with the sauna.
Next level.
I think I just do about 45 minutes with my head's out. So I'm assuming if it were you, you'd probably do an hour and a half in the sauna because...
Try. Maybe not an hour and a half. I'll do like 45 to 50 minutes.
No, but what I'm saying, if you're doing that in your sauna with your head in and it's much hotter, I can only imagine if you had my sauna. It'd probably be long.
Because it's cooler.
Well, your head is out. Right.
So, yeah.
So you're not getting, I mean, I will say you're obviously not getting the full benefit, but so much better than nothing, you know, obviously.
Yeah. So when you're done, is it literally just a big bag of Amanda sweat? Like, is that?
So we actually wear clothes in it. So the clothes soak up your sweat. So the sauna isn't like soaking with everything. So I think that helps a little bit. Plus it helps it make it a little bit hotter, which is the goal.
Yeah.
I have a hard time sweating, which I guess is a good problem. I mean, but that's why I need the sauna, because when I work out, I barely sweat.
Interesting.
It's like a little glisten, and I'm like, I'm not detoxifying. I'm not getting the benefits.
Interesting. I'm not a big sweater. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'm similar.
Well, that's why you love the sauna.
Somebody, what was his name? There was a researcher that I had on my podcast who said that if you go into a sauna, or you like begin exercise and you're even mildly dehydrated, you're going to be less likely to sweat because your body's just holding onto liquid. So he was like, you should actually drink more water before those events.
Yep. Well, it makes sense because I mean, I feel like once you're dehydrated, it's even harder to get out of being dehydrated, and then maybe you get a mild headache, all that stuff too.
Yeah. What about, so in your workouts, are you, do you focus on resistance training? Or
Yeah. Well, like lots of weight training. I came from the old mindset of cardio bunny. I used to think cardio was the best for you. And then after like looking into all the research and just also noticing for myself body composition wise, weight training was the best. It also like helps regulate your hunger levels, right? If you do too much cardio, you're starving and it can be hard to control. But like weight training, you don't really see that effect. So I've become fully addicted to iron, a little bit kind of bodybuilding style sometimes, high rep range. But yeah, I love it. Like ladies, don't be afraid to lift weights, and I go pretty heavy and I don't have bulky arms, no.
No, you don't. No, you've got like slender, yeah. You don't have bulky arms.
Are you still do some weight training or?
I'm gonna try to. I love it. That's my preferred means of working out, but I can't now because I don't have access to a gym and I don't have weights. Really.
Well, it's kind of annoying because I've gotten requests like, hey, what set of dumbbells do you have? But they're so hard to get during quarantine with the demand.
Yeah.
But the adjustable dumbbells are awesome for at home because you got the wide range and they don't take up as much space.
Is that what you guys have?
Yeah, we have like Chris has up to 70 or something.
Wow.
And then I have like, it has like 15, 20, 25, 30 or something like that. And
wow.
Well, my friend let me borrow her barbell because she's away and I was like, oh, this is amazing. Now I just need a squat rack. I miss the squat rack.
Oh, damn. Put that in your house.
I know.
Have nowhere to move. Like.
I know. If you had a squat rack, you'd be all set here. You have your studio. You got your sauna. Like.
I'd be all set. How did you get into to health and fitness initially? I mean, I know the story, but for listeners who, are unfamiliar.
Well, so it kind of started when I started working at Beachbody, which was a fitness company, and I was meal prepping for work. So I started sharing my meal preps for the week on the side. It was just for fun. And then I started sharing nutrition graphics because people kept asking me like, why are you choosing these types of food? What are the swaps? And so when I started sharing that, I realized it's not just about what I'm doing. Like people want to be educated in nutrition, and there's kind of this hole here, and there's no one there to really like break down the science in an easy visual way to understand. So that kind of really motivated me to see that opportunity. And I really wanted to help people. And I was like, this is becoming bigger than my main work. I was like, this is, I want to be there for people. And then obviously we've talked about this before, but I had an eating disorder going into high school. So I really wanted to share with women, like there's a healthy way to lose weight and it doesn't involve starving yourself. In fact, going down that path is super unhealthy, can cause a lot of problems. I've been there. So that's a very foundational part of my message.
Yeah, I love that. The eating disorders are common.
Right. Yep. I know it's so interesting because I do feel like sometimes, when you put calories or share swaps, people are like, hey, this is not helpful for me. And during, which I totally get. If you're in the midst of your eating disorder, like maybe you don't want to follow health pages because you need to take a break from that obsessive mindset. But for me, like if I would have been educated, I felt like if I would have been educated on what actually are healthy choices, like obviously the whole sentiment, eat less, exercise more on paper, somewhat right. But also that can be super unhealthy. And I was focused too much on eating less and not on the quality of the food, which is why I appreciate your message so much, because I feel like that piece is really missing in different areas of life. So I think really, driving people in that direction is super helpful and hopefully will mitigate some of the things that I went through.
Well said. Yeah. I mean, and on the quality, tip, it's important I think for people to realize that what you eat determines how much you eat. So if you don't want to become obsessed with like calorie counting and portion control and things like that, which I think are pretty unnatural. Like,
right. Well, to do it all the time, right? Like, I think if you are going to do it, it's supposed to be for a period of time. Even I've had friends who've done it for just a week and been like, okay, like now I understand where the holes are. I'm going to stop tracking. I know what changes I need to make and thinking about the types of food I'm eating. But yeah, I think you can get caught in an unhealthy mindset if you're overly focused on that. Like I've had female friends and they told me when they were younger trying to lose weight, a little bit less now with the internet, there is more access to this type of information. They said they would buy the frozen dinners and meals because it was the only thing with the calories on it versus like Whole Foods, right? There's no calories on that. So they couldn't, now we have MyFitnessPal and all that. So I do think people are probably a little more educated in that zone. But that's crazy to me. Like, okay, I'm only picking foods where I can see the calories on the package. You're not going to end up in a good place.
Definitely not. Isn't that, didn't you do that for a while? You said that you like only at first started eating like processed packaged foods.
I think, yeah, maybe for a period of time. Or, I mean, I was just, at one point I was eating like so little. It was sad. But wow. I also liked what you say. What is it like? If you eat too much of chips, processed food, moral failure.
Yes.
No.
No. Correct.
Those foods are meant to be overconsumed, right? And it's not that you can have maybe some fun foods in your house, but if it's a trigger for you, maybe just go out and get that with a friend or something. Like don't keep, I don't know, if I kept too much food and like junkish food in my house, I would not be able to resist. It'd be too much.
Yeah. I discovered recently a brand of paleo-approved, in air quotes, pretzels.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh.
They're grain-free pretzels. Okay. Like hard, like pretzel, like, they're not like soft. They're hard. They come in a bag by a brand called Quinn's. And they're amazing. Like they're so good. They're so crunchy. And I literally, like I do a thing, my brother makes fun of me. He calls it whole bagging. Like
when you down the whole bag.
When you down the whole bag. Yeah. See, I'm transparent about like, how food affects me. I buy those and I'll eat the whole bag. Yeah,
it's kind of funny how even like the healthier versions of things can have the similar like, overconsumption. I will say there's certain healthier items like lightly processed, or I don't know, I guess you could be the judge of that.
Yeah.
That I find that I don't really overconsume. Like actually Siete chips for me, they taste good versus like a super salty, like they're just lightly salty, like super salty.
Yeah.
I'll eat way more. So, it's kind of find those trigger points for you and maybe, don't keep that many bags.
Yeah. I mean, I do it regularly, but you're right. Yeah. They're better for you than I think like your usual like wheat, like bleached wheat flour based pretzels and things like that. Yeah.
I think you were one of the first people to teach me a little bit more about the wheat flour, and then looking into the research on that, like just how that's just way less nutritious. That's why obviously almond flour, coconut flour can be a better choice for baking or in some of those other items because there's a lot more nutrients in the coconut and almond plant versus the wheat plant, which I think is a great point.
Yeah, totally agree. And wheat can be problematic for people. Gluten is one of the most common allergens.
Yeah. Well, plus I heard the way, we process gluten in the U.S. is not, well, I guess it's usually sprayed more than in Europe. So there's also that problem. Because I've had friends who go to Europe and they're like, you know what, I ate the gluten there and I felt better. Like I didn't feel quite like some of the gluten choices in America, which is interesting.
So what year did you start like really engaging with Instagram? Because right now, I mean, you have like 1.5 million followers at least. Like you're one of the top like nutrition profiles on Instagram.
Oh, wow. That's a little nice.
No, it's true though. Like you're one of the best, I think. Like there's a lot of people, with big like followings in the nutrition fitness space on Instagram. And I don't really follow any of them because I would just get too triggered, I feel like.
Oh yeah, you don't have a lot of room for BS. No. Like, and then you'll start commenting on it. I've seen you get in battles with people, which is funny.
Yeah. You never do that though.
No, I have respect to you though. You're standing up for what you believe in.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm a little chicken, but no, I appreciate that. Probably like 3 to 4 years ago is when I really hunkered down. I think I've been working for myself for only a year or so.
It's amazing.
It's great. No, it's been great to really just go all in on your dream. And I mean, at the end of the day, we're just trying to help people. So it's a good feeling.
And does your husband now work with you or does he still do his own stuff?
Yes. We work together, which is great. Like I said, we do the podcast together. We try to keep it a certain level of separation so we don't step on each other's toes. But that's been really fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's the dream, like family business.
Right? Are you going to get involved? Like, are you going to pull your family into this?
It's funny that you ask. I'm always, me and my brothers, we're always trying to think of like ways that we can work together because they have corporate jobs.
Yeah.
And
which you can learn a lot, obviously.
yeah, they're good at what they do. They love their jobs, but they, I think it's like if you were to ask anybody if they'd rather like work for somebody else or have their own thing,
right?
The preference I think generally would be like
yeah,
to have your own thing. So we're always trying to think about ways to like team up because we all have complementary but like distinct strengths.
Okay. So are you making it happen?
I'm trying to think of something that we can do. Yeah.
Okay.
We have nothing
on the table yet.
On the table yet.
No, it's hard to, you got to figure it out the proper way.
Yeah. Yeah, we're trying to figure it out. But that's great. That's awesome that you have that.
Yeah. No, like health and fitness and business. It's always been my dream. I remember I had friends who had it and I was like, okay, I want to make this happen.
It's awesome. So what's next for you? Like, what are you've got your Instagram up and running. You've got your podcast, which is great. And then you're always promoting your ebooks.
Yep. Well, we're going to come out with a new ebook that's going to be a little more comprehensive than my 101 Healthy Snacks ebook. So I'm really excited about that because obviously I have a ton of like nutrition principles and swaps. So I really want to compile that all into one ebook. But I'm also having a lot of fun on TikTok. I'm having a blast.
So you've started using TikTok?
I'm totally hooked.
Oh, man.
I've had a couple videos hit like 1 million or 2 million views. Just literally what I eat in a day, which is funny.
Wow.
So I'm having fun over there. And then, I don't know, just figuring out how I can do smart partnerships or reach more people and really just hone in on, why are people struggling to get healthy and lose weight? And, we know the information, the principles, but how can we really help people change, like put that into habits, right? That's the hard part. That's what I'm trying to figure out more and more every day.
Man, any insights that you can share?
I think, learning about habit change of also maybe sometimes we aim too high and try to, 360 our diet, which does work for some people. Absolutely. Like some people like to just go all in from the start. But for other people, I do feel like it's making small changes, like a 5-minute workout or just changing breakfast. So starting small is really where I'm at. But I'm still learning more.
Yeah. You do such a good job on social media. It's really commendable. Like, it's awesome.
Hey, well, thank you for this podcast. This is one of my favorites.
Oh, man.
And I love that you actually don't just talk about health and fitness. Like, I love when you bring on, like, just more like psychology, and like, what's it like to be in the online space and deal with all these different issues. I think it's cool. It's cool to see that woven into health and fitness and nutrition.
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously like, it's health, nutrition, fitness. They're my number one, or 1, 2, and 3 passions, but they're not all that it's not all that I'm passionate about. Like,
right.
There's a lot more, I think, to me and to my life. And so I'm hoping that with the Genius Life, with the podcast, that I can sort of like broaden out and that my audience will stay with me, for the journey.
Yeah.
Because I think, like I'm trying to figure this all out like everybody else is. I mean, we live in such a weird time.
Yeah, I feel like the internet age, right? We were almost not ready for it, and it's here, and it has so many wonderful, beautiful benefits. We're reaping some of those benefits too, but there's also other consequences and things that maybe we need to shift. So, and you're very vocal about that, so I think it's great.
Yeah, I mean, we're like being inundated with information today, and we're being exposed to the world like on an instantaneous basis. And
it's crazy.
We haven't evolved. Like, our brains have not. We didn't evolve to think in real time about what's going on, like both in our local communities and what's happening on the other side of the planet.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and just this like feedback loop and being exposed to people on social media from everywhere.
Right.
Like that, and the kind of like, you get there's obviously an amazing upside to it, but then. If you post something that doesn't resonate with somebody halfway around the world and they leave a nasty comment on your thing, like, you're still a human being. Your brain didn't adapt to, I don't know, to have to contend with the consequences of that type of reach.
Right. Also, just the fact that people say stuff on the internet that they probably wouldn't say to your face, right? Or they'd say much nicer. Yeah. Like, you really think through when you're, having a conflict with someone in person. So it's interesting. You can just rattle off a comment and maybe ruin your day. No, I'm just kidding. Obviously, you have to have a little bit of a thicker skin to understand that, it's probably not about you. It's probably what's going on with that person.
Hey, if you like that video, you need to check out this one here, and I'll see you there.
If you're eating too many calories, what I'm about to say doesn't really make that big of a difference. But if you are eating the appropriate amount of calories, you're exercising properly, and you're noticing strange body fat storage patterns, it could be a hormonal issue.